are tales to tell in the oldest city on the Missouri River. And dressing the part of American pioneers enhances the storytelling in sweet St. Charles, Missouri.
The most dangerous adventures in all of history.
But when a vicious killer hits town, this community faces the startling truth that some encounters...
You don't think one of his girlfriends got mad enough and killed him, do you?
...are simply too dangerous for any man to survive. You have to wake up plenty early in St. Charles, Missouri to outbid master antiquer Rochelle Jones.
Antiquing is its own niche, and we're very close-knit. When it all boils down, you really do have a good family.
But most recently, one of the family's finest members is noticeably absent from the weekend auctions.
Dale's reputation in this community was very good hard worker. Dale didn't miss many weekend sales.
But the last sale shuts its door, and nobody sees Dale Speaks or his business partner, William Hamilton, who's visiting from Arkansas.
People were very concerned that Dale weren't there, and they did call the police.
Okay, we'll get someone right out there. Our unit's 1043.
That someone is Officer Mike Akers.
These are pretty routine calls. Very seldom does anything become of them.
This late-night call just might be different.
I rang the doorbell and attempted to make contact with someone, and we didn't get a response at the front door.
Akers walks around back and peers inside a window.
We could see two men sprawled on the floor, and there was blood around their head area.
He forces his way into the locked home.
We kicked in the door and proceeded into the residence. It appeared they had gunshot wounds to the head. We checked both men for vital signs, and they were both deceased. It was obvious that this was a scene of a double homicide.
Dale Speaks and his longtime business partner, William Hamilton, have been murdered. It's a dark day for the antique community.
People were devastated. People were scared.
The fine folks of St. Charles, Missouri are at Twitter.
You never hear anything about the underbelly of the antique world.
Most likely they're dealing in something shady.
In the world of antiques, older often means better. And for Dale's fellow antique dealer, Sean Long, nothing is sadder than a treasure lost before its time.
When someone like Dale dies in the community, it puts a scar on the world of antiquing. He was always a smiling face at the auction scene. It's tough.
Good morning, Gordy.
Good morning, Glenda.
Spring has sprung down Main Street, but shop owners Vicky and Gordy Hansen are hit by chilly speculations that the green-eyed monster may have had a hand in this crime.
Dale was a very successful businessman.
Not everybody appreciates someone else's success. What about the other guy? Have you ever heard of him?
Oh, he was a business associate of Dale's. I don't know, maybe something fishy's going on.
Maybe he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Veteran homicide detective Pat McCarrett goes about solving a murder like he does cleaning his trusty gun. He takes it apart piece by piece, starting with the scene of the crime.
The house was just loaded with property. Figurines, firearms, paintings.
Art and guns? Fascinating. But the home of this alluring antiquer is strangely undisturbed.
The collections of things that Dale had in his home, thousands and thousands, easily 6 figures, maybe more. None of it was disturbed.
A killer without a taste for ancient treasures? How terribly uncivilized. Surely these bad boys took something for their troubles.
We asked a friend who worked with Dale for about 20 years on a daily basis what vehicles should be here. He gave us a list of vehicles, and we were able to determine that one of them, a 92 GMC pickup, was not there.
At least the killer didn't leave empty-handed.
Our unit's information, vehicle missing from a double homicide.
When we couldn't find it any of the places it should have been, we put a bulletin out over the radio.
Murder theories, like wine, get juicier when they ferment over time. Even the cool kids in town are talking about Dale's missing truck.
Why would you take the man's truck? I mean, everybody knew Dale's truck.
You get a lot of nice stuff in that house, and you want to get something out of there quick. You're gonna need a truck to do it.
We'll let that theory breathe for a bit, boys. Meanwhile, murder has shattered the security of St. Charles.
People were scared.
With fear in full bloom, a suspect is about to surface that will unnerve every eligible bachelor. Those who believe that honey is sweeter than cash in hand won't last a day in St. Charles's antique community.
Cash is everywhere. Everyone's going to have a safe, and if you don't, you're a fool.
And murdered antique dealer Dale Speaks was no fool.
In talking to the people in Dale's circle, we learned that he did have at least 2 safes in the house.
And it doesn't take long to realize someone has unearthed one of Dale's treasure chests.
The safe was gone. People close to Dale believed that there would be between $30,000 and $50,000 cash in the safe.
A rich motive for murder indeed. But where has Mr. or Mrs. Moneybags gone? And did they make their getaway in Dale's truck?
That's the ultimate question.
It's a question that unleashes a storm of sordid stories in St. Charles's favorite photo shop.
You know Dale, rich and loved. Wasn't a girl in town that didn't know Dale.
You don't think one of his girlfriends got mad enough and killed him, do you?
I don't know. I've been pretty mad at my man before.
Well, what about that truck? That's an awfully big truck for a little lady to be taken off in.
50 grand, though, I think I could manage.
Time is money, but when you're dealing with murder, it's gold. Detective McCarrick immediately turns to crime scene examiner Robert O'Neill.
What do you got for me? I need some help.
We don't have a lot of physical evidence.
There's a safe missing from the basement. What can you tell me about that?
The safe was taken from underneath the crawl space under the stairs. There's a false compartment there with a false wall.
It seems Dale had a favorite hiding spot.
Looks like this compartment's pretty well hidden, huh?
Without knowing it's there, I don't see how anybody could be looking for it.
It's got to be somebody that knows Dale.
Apparently, many Midwestern women know Dale.
Dale was always very charming.
No doubt Dale's bevy of beauties is equally as charming, but only one is particularly intriguing.
Dale had a girlfriend who had lived for some time in the house with him. She actually had gotten married and moved to Kansas.
But it looks like this happy couple had recently taken a road trip.
Her husband was an over-the-road truck driver. During the time that the crime happened, they had come to St. Charles in his truck.
This trucking twosome has a ready-made answer for their trip to town.
And they came here to drop her son off to spend some time with her mother, his grandmother, and then continued on their trucking route.
But did Dale's former flame and her new hubby head down the road with a bountiful wedding gift?
When we looked at their travel documents, their fuel records, and their records of deliveries, we found that, in fact, they were not here on the night that the crime happened.
As the neighbors at nearby Daniel Boone Village will tell you, you needn't go looking outside your home for answers that could lie within.
I think they ought to be looking a little closer to home.
How much closer could you be than an ex-girlfriend?
Maybe somebody grew up underneath his roof.
Perhaps this fine woodchopper is onto something.
In the initial stages doing the victimology, we learned that Dale had a son and a daughter.
And foolish is the father who indulges an idle child.
Dale expected a good work ethic out of his kids, much like he had.
But Dale's son, Nathan, is not exactly a chip off the old block.
Nathan was a kid who'd had some problems, was 20 years old, lived with his mother and stepfather.
Looks like the apple fell right off the family tree and rolled straight downhill.
His dad was a man of means, a self-made man, and Nathan felt that he was entitled.
So just where was the little lollygagger the weekend of his dad's murder?
Nathan did give us an alibi. He said he was at this guy's house. They were watching movies.
Sounds like another productive evening for the youth of America.
We talked to the friend. He said, yeah, Nathan was there.
The prodigal son is off the hook.
I learned a long time ago not to get too excited until you get to the end of the road, because usually before you get there, you find out the guy couldn't have done it.
Drop in down at Hobbit's Hole Antiques, and you'll find that life is rarely as it seems.
You know, it's crazy, though, about Dale. You know, the guy was such an honest person.
We all try to be honest, and he had a good reputation, but what if something happened? What if he made someone angry?
There's shifty people in every business.
Maybe someone's out to get him.
There are some people in this business who will do anything to make a buck.
What is the going rate for double murder? And who could be involved in such shady business?
Several people named a guy named Craig Exner, with whom Dale had done business, as a possible suspect.
And these days, Craig's life sounds like a sad country song.
He was recently divorced. He had no job, he had no money. He was living with his mother.
Now, even a grown man needs his mummy from time to time. But Craig found other supporters, too.
Dale had more or less taken Craig under his wing. In fact, he'd loaned him a lot of money.
Perhaps dear Craig had a different form of payback in mind. With Dale out of the picture, maybe he'll finally figure out a way to jumpstart his cash flow. Never mix business with pleasure. But who wouldn't mix business with a touch of murder if the price was right? Dale's former associate, Craig Exner, perhaps?
Rumors were terrible, but we wanted the truth. We wanted to know.
And so do investigators.
Here's a guy who owes the victim a considerable amount of money. In my experience, bad business deals obviously can get pretty emotional.
And what emotional being doesn't mull over murder?
We asked Craig where he was.
And when Craig feeds investigators a fishy story, this mama's boy becomes even more intriguing.
Craig said he was home at his mother's house. All other things being equal, if your alibi witness is your mother, it's not a very good alibi witness.
Dear Craig, not even Mommy Dearest can save you this time. Alone in a tiny interrogation room, investigators know they can pry out the truth.
He was actually at a bar.
A bar? Why the lame lie, Craigo?
He told us that he was an alcoholic. He was pretty much hit bottom. Craig was lying to his mother on a regular basis.
Apparently, Craig has learned his lesson about lying.
We gave him a polygraph examination, which he passed.
Poor guy can't even toast the fact he's no longer a suspect. And without a suspect, St. Charles could use a little good cheer.
So if it wasn't the associate that killed Dale, who do you think killed him?
I don't know. Did they check his ex-wife's alibi or his kids?
I think they ruled out the family.
But investigators still haven't ruled out the possibility of one day finding Dale's stolen truck. And wouldn't you know, today's their lucky day.
One of our officers, just on a routine patrol in the casino garage, located the truck on the second level.
The stroke of good luck turns into a winning streak when the casino deals up another critical clue.
Virtually everything at the casino is covered by surveillance cameras. So we knew that truck would be on camera somewhere. So we got the tapes and began looking at them.
And this film gets McCarrick's vote for Best Picture of the Year.
That's the victim's truck, all right. Dale's truck was actually following closely behind another vehicle, a gray Chevy Suburban.
This cozy caravan was in an awfully big hurry the night of Dale's murder. In the middle of a well-planned getaway, perhaps?
Dale's pickup truck is seen entering the casino at about 10:02 p.m. The Suburban is seen leaving at 10:03.
Investigators can't make out either driver, but that Suburban sure does look familiar.
Where have you seen it?
Michael Langdon has one similar to that.
Langdon, Nathan's stepfather, huh?
Could Dale's ex-wife's new husband be behind the brutal murder?
We sometimes find that there'll be real bad feelings between current husband and a former husband.
My knowledge of the divorce is that it was not cutthroat.
But one never knows what goes on behind closed doors. There's nothing more exhilarating than facing off with your rival, if you're a prize fighter.
Good round. Thanks, man. You too. Hey, man, that Dale, I'm thinking he was a big threat to Mike.
Yeah, but killing the guy, that's hitting way below the belt, bro.
Maybe so, but, you know, sometimes people do crazy stuff when it comes to women. What would you do if somebody messed with your woman?
I don't know, but it wouldn't be pretty. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Investigators have little time for silly games. And besides, they're already backing their latest suspect into a corner.
We showed Mike a surveillance photo of his Suburban entering the casino on the night of the murder in close proximity to Dale's truck. And on looking at the photograph, he said, "I think I'm going to be sick."
Not even a spoonful of sugar will help Michael now.
And then he said, "I think I need to talk to a lawyer."
Before long, Mike finds himself in a fatal situation that stuns an entire community.
During the investigation, Mike died of heart disease. Obviously, that ends what might have been a murder case against Mike.
Has the killer just met his maker, or is the real murderer still on the run?
You can't imagine how demanding everybody was to want to know who did it. We all wanted to know.
If there were no bad people in this world, there would be no need for good prosecutors. Phil Gruenway is one of the good guys.
I knew there was a lot at stake, and there was no way I was going to lose this case.
Phil meets with Detective McCarrick to figure out a fresh game plan.
If we can get a list of people who were in the casino about the time that the victim's truck and the other truck arrived, we may find somebody that saw something.
So you tell me you got a list of everyone that was there that day?
Everybody on the gaming floor, yes.
McCarrick hits the phone, knowing he's playing a numbers game.
We eventually located a witness who saw the Suburban and Dale's truck enter the garage. Her attention was drawn to them because it was unusual for two vehicles to come in together like that. Guy parks one of them, gets in the other one, and the two then leave.
And there's no mistaking the dashing good looks of the man driving Dale's truck.
The description she gave us was remarkably similar to that of Dale's son, Nathan.
Fathers and sons always share something in common. And for the Speaks men, it seems that something was money. But while one was willing to work for it, did the other decide to kill for it? Has Dale's ne'er-do-well son, Nathan, finally found his niche in life? The mastermind behind a murder plot? Talk of such dark tales is weighing heavily on the folks down at the Daniel Boone Village.
Seems like that young'un thinks the whole world owes him, like his daddy ought to be paying his way or something.
Maybe that's what happened. Dale just got fed up with him and decided to cut him loose.
Tell you what I'd do with him if he was one of mine. I'd let him know that he needed to make his own way and not rely on me or somebody else to do it for him.
What's the matter with these kids today?
Sheepish is the child who wants to please the parent. Nathan? Not so much. And rest assured, someone's got him pegged.
We were able to find a woman who was in the parking garage about the same time as the victim's pickup truck and the Suburban had entered it. Eventually, this woman was shown a live lineup, and she picked Nathan out as the person she had seen.
Nathan, you're simply unforgettable. But what about the boy's alleged alibi?
Eventually, this friend, this alibi witness, would call us back and say, "I'm not so sure Nathan was with me."
Why, Nathan, you little liar. Dale's baby boy is going down without Daddy's millions.
Dale was in the process of disinheriting Nathan from the will. Nathan would have gotten absolutely nothing.
A hidden treasure for investigators, a real motive for murder, and just the right nugget to take to a grand jury.
And they returned indictments against Nathan.
The news is a brutal blow to the town of St. Charles.
Bro, I cannot believe Nathan did his dad in.
I know. You know, Dale did not see that shot coming.
Yeah, it's usually the ones you don't see that hurt the most, huh?
Yeah, true. Now Nathan's going down for good.
Nathan Speaks is popped for the murder of his dad, Dale Speaks, and his longtime business partner, Bill Hamilton.
Bill Hamilton was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He had a daughter who was, I think, 5 years old at the time. She asked her mother if she could get in the casket and go to heaven with Daddy.
At his trial, a now 28-year-old Nathan Speaks pleads not guilty. But with no alibi and the testimony of a star witness, Nathan doesn't stand a chance.
Nathan went to this friend and said, "I'm going to go into my father's house. I'm not taking anything except the safe that's hidden in a compartment in the basement. And I'm going to have to kill him because he'll know it's me by what was taken."
The story is more than enough for a jury.
The jury convicted Nathan of the 2 counts of murder in the first degree and 2 counts of armed criminal action.
The citizens in this ancient river town are aghast.
He kills his dad for money. Tell me what goes through your head when you hear something like that.
That's not the relationship I had with my father. I have no idea what would go through someone's mind like that.
Well, I heard he always wanted a free ride, so it looks like he's going to get it from the state of Missouri because he's sitting in jail for the rest of his life.
The conviction of Nathan Speaks delivers the gift of solace to this community.
I think Dale would have wanted the Antiguan community to thrive after his death. I think that he wanted the up-and-comers to take over, to keep the collector and collectible spirit alive.
The folks of St. Charles have returned to the tall tales of American pioneers.
Every turn they faced a new danger up the mighty Missouri River.
But even the best storytellers know, unless the myths overshadow the true details of life, the stories aren't much fun to tell. There are tales to tell in the oldest city on the Missouri River. And dressing the part of American pioneers enhances the storytelling in sweet St. Charles, Missouri.
The most dangerous adventures in all of history.
But when a vicious killer hits town, this community faces the startling truth that some encounters
You don't think one of his girlfriends got mad enough and killed him, do you?
are simply too dangerous for any man to survive. You have to wake up plenty early in St. Charles, Missouri to outbid master antiquer Rochelle Jones.
Antiquing is its own niche, and we're very close-knit. When it all boils down, you really do have a good family.
But most recently, one of the family's finest members is noticeably absent from the weekend auctions.
Dale's reputation in this community was very good hard worker. Dale didn't miss many weekend sales.
But the last sale shuts its door, and nobody sees Dale Speaks or his business partner, William Hamilton, who's visiting from Arkansas.
People were very concerned that Dale weren't there, and they did call the police.
Okay, we'll get someone right out there. Our unit's 1043.
That someone is Officer Mike Akers.
These are pretty routine calls. Very seldom does anything become of them.
This late-night call just might be different.
I rang the doorbell and attempted to make contact with someone, and we didn't get a response at the front door.
Akers walks around back and peers inside a window.
We could see two men sprawled on the floor, and there was blood around their head area.
He forces his way into the locked home.
We kicked in the door and proceeded into the residence. It appeared they had gunshot wounds to the head. We checked both men for vital signs, and they were both deceased. It was obvious that this was a scene of a double homicide.
Dale Speaks and his longtime business partner, William Hamilton, have been murdered. It's a dark day for the antique community.
People were devastated. People were scared.
The fine folks of St. Charles, Missouri are at Twitter.
You never hear anything about the underbelly of the antique world.
Most likely they're dealing in something shady.
In the world of antiques, older often means better. And for Dale's fellow antique dealer, Sean Long, nothing is sadder than a treasure lost before its time.
When someone like Dale dies in the community, it puts a scar on the world of antiquing. He was always a smiling face at the auction scene. It's tough.
Good morning, Gordy.
Good morning, Glenda.
Spring has sprung down Main Street, but shop owners Vicky and Gordy Hansen are hit by chilly speculations that the green-eyed monster may have had a hand in this crime.
Dale was a very successful businessman.
Not everybody appreciates someone else's success.